when I was born, my father, the king, threw a grand feast to celebrate my arrival. He invited nearly all the witches in the kingdom to bless me. There were 13 witches in total, but only 12 golden plates were available for them. As the banquet was nearing its end, the 13th witch, the one who hadn't been invited, arrived with the most malevolent curse. On her 18th birthday, the princess will fall in love with the first person she sees. That person will deceive and betray her, and the princess will never find happiness. To break the curse, my father set a trial. He swore to choose a loyal and righteous warrior to be my future husband, and declared that whoever married his daughter would inherit his throne. He placed the royal crown atop a tall tower, surrounded by a dense hedge of thorny bushes. The entire tower was completely hidden, and only those with true loyalty could pass through the thorns, defeat the wild beasts, climb the tower, and retrieve the crown. Immediately, many warriors flocked to the kingdom. 17 years passed, and the warriors were either strangled by the thorny bushes or killed by wild beasts. Not a single one succeeded. Hey everyone, this is a special chapter. Just take a quick look, okay? Alright, the story begins. Late at night, a bright moon hung high in the sky, casting silver moonlight through my window and into my room. My father and mother embraced each other, sadly lamenting, "Can the curse truly not be broken?" Hot tears streamed down their faces. Unable to bear their continued worry for me, I decided to journey to other kingdoms, to personally seek true love, someone who would never deceive or betray me. With my parents' anxious hopes, I left home with my bag, embarking on my journey. On the 5th night after leaving home, I entered a deep part of a forest and unfortunately got lost. Just as I was at my wit's end, a little bird, shimmering with silver light and completely white, flew towards me. It perched on a high branch and sang beautifully. I couldn't help but stop and listen. After finishing its song, the little bird spread its wings and flew in front of me. It chirped for a while, then flew off in a certain direction, looking back at me after flying a short distance. It wanted me to follow it. I lifted my feet and followed behind it, walking all the way to a very peculiar little house. The walls of the house were made of fragrant bread, the roof was thick cream cake, the windows were transparent sugar candies, and white cotton candy floated out of the chimney. A piece of cotton candy drifted down in front of me from midair. For some reason, I felt tempted, so I reached out, tore off a small piece, and put it in my mouth. It was sweet and soft, melting instantly. Just then, a voice came from inside the house. "Who's tasting my cotton candy?" I suddenly came to my senses. I had eaten something without the owner's permission. Ashamed, I could only try my best to make amends. "I'm sorry, I ate your cotton candy. Please give me a chance to make it up to you. I can pay you in gold coins." The door of the small house opened, and out stepped a beautiful woman with golden curly hair and red eyes. She walked gracefully, each step seemingly treading on light clouds. She smiled as she looked at me. "Good child, it's all right. You're very welcome. It's already very late. Come inside with me. I think you need some rest." Her voice was very gentle, carrying a convincing magic. I couldn't help but nod in agreement. She took my hand and led me into the house, preparing a very lavish dinner for me. Milk, sugar biscuits, apples, and nuts. I sincerely expressed my gratitude. While eating, my eyes were involuntarily drawn to a large oil painting on the wall. It depicted a couple, their heads resting together, looking very much in love. Noticing my gaze, the woman looked over as well, a nostalgic look in her eyes. My eyes fixed on the painting as I asked, "Who are they? They look so in love." The woman's face showed a happy smile. "They are my parents. They've gone wandering out in the world. Would you like to hear their story?" "Of course, it would be my pleasure. The experience of a successful marriage is something worth learning from." She spoke softly, telling her tale. "My father and mother fell in love the moment they saw each other. They were devoted to each other and wanted to marry, but my grandfather disapproved of the match, because my father was just a poor tailor. To be with my father, my mother broke ties with her family. My father was very touched and became even more considerate towards my mother. They were inseparable every day. One day, my father made a suit that pleased the prince very much, and the prince rewarded my father with a chest of gold coins. We instantly became the wealthiest people in town. Only then did my grandfather finally approve of my father and forgive my mother. Unfortunately, not long after, my grandfather fell gravely ill and passed away." The woman's voice trailed off, then suddenly stopped. Her eyes looked into the distance, as if recalling the past. I couldn't help but press on. What happened next? She came back to herself and continued. Later, they decided to take the money and wander around to see what the outside world was like. I don't like to travel around, so I stayed in this house, waiting for them to return. After listening, I sighed. That's a great love story. Your mother was brave to pursue love. Then I silently reflected, if it were me, I might never break ties with my parents for love. Perhaps that's why love hasn't come into my life yet. I couldn't help but sigh for my own future. The woman noticed my low spirits and pushed a cup of rich, sweet milk towards me. Drink more milk. It will make you feel warm and comfortable. I drained the milk. Looking at the empty cup, I suddenly realized I didn't know the woman's name. I asked, could you tell me your name? I don't know what to call you. The woman paused for a moment, looked at the large oil painting, and said softly, Mora. You can just call me Mora. My father loved calling me that. After dinner, she made a small white bed for me with a thick mattress. Lying on it, all the fatigue from days of travel melted away. Before my consciousness completely plunged into darkness, a question suddenly popped into my mind. Why did Mora and her mother not resemble each other at all? Mora was stunning, a striking beauty, but her mother was unremarkable, with an ordinary appearance. However, when it came to love, appearance was insignificant. My consciousness grew heavier, and I fell into a deep sleep. With a bird's cry, my slumbering consciousness sharply awoke. I stood in front of a tailor's shop. Passers-by walked through my body. It was a very illogical scene, yet I felt no surprise. Accepting the reality naturally, I walked into the tailor shop. Business was dismal. There were sparse fabrics on the walls, and thick dust covered the workbench. From a back room in the corner came the sound of a woman's sorrowful cries. I walked over and peered in, and to my shock, it was Mora's parents. Looking younger than in the oil painting, they lay naked together. The woman was in tears, sobbing uncontrollably. The man held her tenderly, continuously repenting. I'm sorry, I was confused for a moment. I shouldn't have drunk so much. Forgive me. This time, I truly love you. He then lowered his head and affectionately kissed the top of her head. Just then, a portly middle-aged man rushed in from outside. Upon entering, he immediately closed the tailor shop door and bolted it shut with a heavy latch. He furiously stormed into the back room and, with his clumsy body, threw punches hard at the man. I'll kill you, you beast. How dare you treat my daughter like this? This middle-aged man was Mora's grandfather. The naked man groaned from the beating. The woman, wrapped in clothes, pleaded bitterly, trying to stop him. The scene before my eyes suddenly began to change. The three figures in this farce started to become ethereal. After a twisting dizziness, I arrived at a new location. This was a wedding backstage. I saw Mora's mother and grandfather again. The middle-aged man held a veil in his hand. His voice choked. My daughter, do you really want to marry him? Even if he took your body, even if there are rumors later, if you don't want to, Dad will protect you and take care of you for life. The woman tried desperately to suppress her emotions, forcing a smile. Don't worry, Dad. He promised me before God that he would be good to me for life. I will be happy. The middle-aged man's eyes instantly darkened, and he sighed helplessly. He raised his hand and gently stroked the woman's hair, solemnly placing the white veil on her head. My dear daughter, I respect your choice, but remember, Dad will always be your backup. My form twisted again, and the scene shifted. This time, it was a lavish palace. A man in luxurious robes sat high on a large chair adorned with precious jewels. Mora's father knelt humbly on the ground, a fawning smile on his face. Your Royal Highness, it is her honor to be noticed by you. I am willing to offer her to you. The prince smirked. Oh, weren't you too deeply in love? Why agree so readily? The man's smile widened, more exaggerated and comical than the wide red lips of a circus clown. Your tolerance for her ordinariness is a blessing she's accumulated over many lifetimes. I just hope you don't lose interest because of her dullness. The prince casually plucked a luminous pearl from his chair, twirling it in his palm. In that case, send her over tonight. I haven't tried this type of looks yet. Then, with a flick of his hand, he threw the fist-sized luminous pearl in front of the man. An undisguised temptation. There will be plenty of benefits for you once it's done. The man's eyes gleamed with excitement, and he heavily bowed his head. I will certainly not fail your command. This was a naked, utterly filthy transaction, like an absurd black stage play. I watched this scene, recalling Mora's father's affection in the tailor shop. A strong sense of disgust and nausea churned in my stomach. The scene changed again. I had a vague premonition that it was almost the end of the story. Outside the majestic palace, Mora's grandfather lay on the ground, covered in blood, lifeless. Mora's mother, heartbroken, wailed while holding the body. Her disheveled clothes couldn't hide the bruises all over her body, and her swollen cheeks bore the marks of violent slaps. Mora's father walked out of the palace arrogantly, followed by two stout, armored guards carrying a chest of glittering gold coins. He had his arm around a beautiful woman with golden curly hair and a graceful figure. I was shocked to see the woman's face. She looked exactly like Mora. The only difference was her eyes. Mora's eyes were red, while hers were blue. Mora's mother looked at the man with hatred, her voice so shrill it was almost distorted. Why did you do this to me? The man sneered, his eyes filled with contempt. People die for wealth, birds die for food. It's only natural. He used his hand to lift the chin of the beautiful woman beside him. This is the beauty the prince bestowed upon me. Look at yourself. Where do you compare to her? I was tired of you long ago. And your father, who always looked down on me. He even tried to force his way into the palace to save you. How foolish. He deserved to die. I'll kill you. She could no longer restrain herself and screamed, lunging at him with fierce determination. The man easily pushed the woman to the ground, then kicked her viciously. Mora's mother coughed up a large mouthful of blood, clutching her stomach, unable to move. The man contemptuously spat on her, then turned and swaggered away. I silently watched this tragedy unfold, wanting to help her up, but my translucent hands passed through her body. I could do nothing but silently stay by her side. After a very long time, she shakily stood up with determination. She lifted her father's lifeless body onto her back and carried him, step by step, through the bustling marketplace. Some people came forward, offering to help her, but she thanked them and refused. She continued walking, out of the kingdom's city walls, to a green meadow. She buried her father there. The scene before my eyes began to dissipate like mist. The surroundings turned into a blank white void, leaving only Mora's grandfather's protruding grave. The grave began to glow, and the light grew increasingly dazzling. From within it flew a small bird. The bird shimmered with silver light, completely white. It opened its beak and spoke in a human voice. I am Mora's father. My daughter was harmed by a scoundrel and made a deal with a demon. Please save her. Mora's father. Thoughts flooded my mind. I had countless questions I wanted to clarify. The little bird flapped its wings, and the white void receded. I stood in a forest, my body still nearly transparent, without substance. It flew off in one direction. Without time to think, I quickly followed. The scenery along the way became increasingly familiar. The small house reappeared before my eyes. Only this time, it was just an ordinary wooden cabin. In front of the cabin, the woman from the oil painting knelt before God. Now she was very thin, her face pale, like a dried flower blown by the wind, fragile and weak. God asked, "Your husband swore in my name to be good to you, but he did not fulfill his vow and will be punished. I will now compensate you. What do you wish to receive?" Tears instantly filled the woman's eyes, her expression both nervous and filled with infinite anticipation. She pleaded, "I want my father to be resurrected." God shook his head, refusing. The dead cannot return to the human world. Desperate tears streamed from the corners of her eyes. She opened her mouth, and finally asked in a low voice, "What punishment will he receive?" God replied, "He will lose all his wealth." The woman's eyes widened, and she asked incredulously, "Just that?" God nodded. His wealth was ill-gotten. This punishment is enough for him to realize his mistake. The woman looked dazed, for a long while, then she suddenly grinned. Her laughter grew louder, sending shivers down my spine. She wiped away the tears that came from her laughter and asked, "Then what can you compensate me with?" "Countless gold coins, precious jewels, a beautiful palace, captivating beauty, magnificent dresses. What do you desire?" The woman lowered her head, concealing her expression, seemingly deep in serious thought. After a long pause, she looked up at God and said, "Then make me beautiful. I want a face exactly like the beauty the prince bestowed." God nodded. "Your wish is granted." The woman's appearance changed. Golden curly hair, blue eyes. The Mora I knew, the woman who suffered in the illusion, they merged into one. Mora's so-called mother was actually herself. They had been the same person all along. In this illusion, everything I had seen from beginning to end was Mora's true experience. After God left, Mora returned to the kingdom with a short knife. The little bird and I followed behind her, witnessing what was about to happen. The tailor shop was dilapidated. Inside, The sound of an argument could be heard. The woman angrily questioned, "Where are the gold coins? Where did you hide them? Why has our luxurious villa turned into this broken tailor shop? You must explain yourself." The man replied impatiently, "There's nothing to explain. Since you married me, whatever life I can give you, that's the life you have to live. What? You think you can run away now that I'm broke, you bitch?" The woman trembled with rage and slapped the man hard. "How dare you curse at me? My brother is a soldier by the prince's side. If the prince hadn't given you so much money back then, how could I have ever looked at you, you incompetent fool? Since you're broke, I don't need to stay here anymore." With that, the woman gathered her remaining money and stormed off. Mora stood in the corner, silently watching everything. Night fell. In the tailor shop, a faint candlelight flickered. Mora walked forward and knocked on the door. The door opened from inside. "Who is it? Don't you know I'm in a bad mood right now?" The dim candlelight spilled onto Mora's face. "Why are you back?" "Oh, I know. Have they all abandoned you? You used goods, and now you have to come back to me?" The man insulted her wildly, then stepped aside to let Mora in. Just as he bolted the door, a sharp pain shot through his body as a knife plunged into him from behind. He stumbled a few steps before collapsing to the ground, his body contorted in pain. His face was filled with shock. "You want to kill me? Why?" Mora calmly looked at the man who had turned her life upside down. "I told you I would kill you. Since God can't give you the punishment you deserve, I'll do it myself." The man's eyes widened, blood vessels bursting from the strain. "You're Mora?" Mora didn't reply. She took down the string used for making clothes from the wall and tied the man tightly to a chair, stuffing rags into his mouth. Then she stopped his bleeding, making sure he wouldn't quickly bleed to death. She used the short knife to cut off pieces of the man's flesh, one by one. The heavy smell of blood quickly filled the room. The little bird flew from my shoulder to Mora's side, wanting to use its wings to wipe away the cold sweat beading on Mora's forehead. Unfortunately, we were merely phantoms, passers-by in this illusion. We couldn't even offer the simplest help. The little bird looked at Mora with distress, then shed tears. "My daughter used to cherish life the most, but now she's become a bloodthirsty executioner." "Bloodthirsty? Did Mora kill others too?" I didn't ask aloud, silently continuing to watch. I believed my questions would be answered later. After Mora had cut dozens of pieces of flesh, the man finally couldn't hold on and breathed his last. His eyes remained open, filled with extreme fear and pain. Karma. What goes around comes around. His end was well-deserved. I watched, feeling extremely relieved. Mora lit a large fire with a candle, burning the tailor shop to ashes. This tragic incident caused a huge stir in the kingdom. Women condemned the man for betraying his wife, criticized the prince for stealing someone else's wife and violating morality, and said that killing people indiscriminately was brutal and such a person was unworthy of inheriting the throne. However, the man seemed unbothered, instead complaining that Mora's retaliation was too cruel. The rumors grew rampant. Mora's whereabouts were unknown, and the man was dead. People's attention focused on the prince. The prince was furious and sent soldiers to arrest many who openly criticized him. He also bribed many citizens to spread altered versions of the truth in their conversations. Mora and the man fell in love at first sight but were blocked by her father because the man was a poor tailor. Mora broke ties with her family. One day, the man made a suit that greatly pleased the prince, who generously rewarded him with a chest of gold coins. Only then did Mora's father approve of the man. Unfortunately, he fell gravely ill and passed away soon after. The tailor shop then accidentally caught fire. After this, Mora and the man took the money and left the kingdom to travel. The father who cherished his daughter became a villain who loved wealth and disdained poverty. Mora, who painstakingly sought revenge, became a lovesick fool. The greedy husband turned into a devoted lover. The prince completely disappeared from this story, leaving a generous and good image. Everything was like an absurd and bizarre dark comedy, but reality was unfolding. Mora hid in the crowd, calmly watching the unsuspecting public easily believe the so-called facts from others' mouths, calmly watching everything change beyond recognition. That night, Mora returned to the wooden cabin. She drew a very intricate magic circle on the ground with blood. Her pale face was ashen from significant blood loss, like a corpse crawled back from hell. She closed her eyes, clasped her hands together, and chanted an unintelligible incantation. The little bird reacted violently to this scene, flapping its wings desperately, flying around Mora. "Daughter, no, don't summon the demon, you'll be condemned forever." The little bird couldn't stop anything from happening, only watching helplessly as the demon descended. Since God cannot grant my wish, then I am willing to believe in the demon. Mora traded her soul with the demon. Her eyes, once blue, turned a vivid blood red, just like the demon's. Now she had completely transformed into the Mora I first knew. Mora began to exact her revenge on the prince with madness. The prince died suddenly and strangely in a woman's bed. Those who were bribed to distort the facts were hanged from the rafters. The man who had cruelly insulted Mora knelt on the ground, repeatedly kowtowing an apology until his head was bloody. Mora stayed in the cabin, tempting greedy people with gold coins, and seducing lustful people with her beauty. Once they let down their guard, she would kill them with a knife, dig out their hearts, and offer them to the demon. Mora killed more and more people, and her sanity became increasingly twisted, until she lost all reason and became a complete murderer. The devil would come to claim her soul. She painted a large oil painting and hung it on the wall, constantly reminding herself of who she was, and the hatred she carried. She had to persevere in killing everyone in this world who was treacherous, greedy, lustful, abused power, and sought to cover up the truth. Compared to the devil Mora traded with, they deserved to fall into hell even more. People began to fear Mora's existence. They jointly petitioned the king, demanding he send someone to kill Mora. The king issued a bounty. Whoever cut off Mora's head would receive 100 gold coins. Batch after batch of assassins, tempted by the gold, came to assassinate Mora. She didn't kill them but merely drove them away. However, Mora's last shred of humanity was mistaken for fear. More and more assassins flocked to her, and some even falsely claimed to have her father's belongings. When Mora lowered her guard, they plunged their long swords into her body. When Mora realized she had been deceived, she finally killed her first assassin. All subsequent assassins who came met their end by Mora's knife, never returning. Gradually, assassins no longer dared to take the risk. Mora had killed too many people, and her moments of lucidity became fewer and fewer, until she found a magic book that described a magical spell. This spell could allow people to swap souls and even deceive devils. That night, Mora sat at her desk, staring at the magic book all night. The next day, Mora transformed the blood-soaked wooden cabin into a cozy one built of sweets. She found mind-bewitching magic herbs and brewed them day and night in a pot. The aroma floated out of the chimney, turning into white cotton candy. Finally, one night, a girl came outside the cabin. Tempted, she reached out, tore off a small piece of cotton candy, and put it in her mouth. Mora curled her lips, watching the exceedingly fresh, underage body through the window. "Who's tasting my cotton candy?" The girl outside instantly blushed with shame. "I'm sorry, I ate your cotton candy. Please give me a chance to make amends. I can pay you in gold coins." Mora pushed open the door. The moment she stepped out, everything suddenly faded. I found myself back in the white void where only the grave remained. The silver glow on the little bird's body completely vanished, and its body was so transparent it seemed about to disappear. After its death, it couldn't let go of its daughter and had transformed into a little bird to stay by her side, but it was just a phantom. Mora couldn't see it or feel its presence. It watched with its own eyes as its daughter sold her soul for revenge, her hands stained with blood. Now, she even intended to harm the innocent and steal someone else's body. She couldn't continue down this wrong path. "My daughter cannot go from being a victim to an aggressor," it said. "Dear young lady, your appearance has given me hope. You are the only one who can see me, so I selfishly brought you to the cabin. After Mora knocked you unconscious, I used my last strength to pull you into this illusion. I thought if you saw everything Mora suffered, you would be willing to help her. Mora is a good child. She's just blinded by hatred. I have already prayed to God to let Mora's soul ascend to heaven after her death. The price is that I will not enter reincarnation. I'm almost gone." The little bird spit out a silver pendant from its mouth. "This is a gift I always wanted to give Mora. I believe Mora will turn back from her misguided path when she sees this. Also, please tell her for me, Dad will always love you. Don't keep punishing yourself for others' mistakes." Then it spit out a colorful heart. This heart was very small, only the size of a fingernail. "This is my heart. If she still doesn't repent and tries to harm you, just crush it. It will send you to a safe place." I took both items and nodded solemnly. "Don't worry, I am willing to help you. Mora deserves a good ending." Hearing my words, the little bird's eyes shone with gratitude. "Thank you, young lady. I leave everything to you." With that, it flapped its wings and flew high into the sky. its body transforming into specks of light that vanished between heaven and earth. I slowly opened my eyes. This sleep had been so long it felt like an eternity. I felt around in my pocket. Indeed, there were 2 items. It wasn't a dream. You're finally awake. If you weren't still breathing, I would have thought you were dead. Mora's voice suddenly rang out. I looked up in the direction of the voice. The sight before me was divided by thick iron bars. I belatedly realized I was caged in an iron cage, and directly beneath it was an already drawn golden magic circle. Mora stood outside the cage, staring at me expressionlessly, her eyes icy. Since you're awake, let's begin. With that, she turned to activate the magic circle. Mora, wait a moment, I called out to her. I have something for you. It's a gift your father always wanted to give you. Her movements instantly froze. She slowly turned back, a fierce storm brewing in her eyes, about to erupt at any moment. Her eyes were fixed on me as she questioned, word by word, what did you say? Every word was laced with towering rage. I pulled the pendant from my pocket and showed it to her through the gaps in the bars. It's this pendant. Mora's expression shifted from anger to doubt, then to anticipation, then to anxiety, and finally settled on bewilderment. She roared, are you lying to me again? Why are you using my father to lie to me again? Are you also sent by the prince to kill me? Will you attack me when I believe you? Her body trembled from the intense emotional fluctuations, like a glass bottle shattered into pieces and then put back together, broken on the outside and riddled with holes on the inside. It was like a child told by their father that he would buy them their favorite candy, only for the father to break his promise again and again, tricking them with pebbles picked from the roadside. When the child excitedly opened their palm, they found they had been deceived. She believed again and again, and was disappointed again and again. When she had completely lost trust in her father, he suddenly pulled out the candy he had promised from his pocket. But by this point, she no longer dared to believe. Hesitating, unable to reach out and take it, she was afraid it would be another trick. Mora missed her father too much, so she believed again. Even if a long sword were to pierce her body again, she would be willing. She took the pendant from my hand. The pendant's appearance was plain, with only some simple patterns engraved on it. Mora slowly opened the pendant. The moment she saw what was inside, tears instantly welled up in her eyes. Inside was a photograph. Mora's father holding Mora as a child, his eyes filled with pure love. I said softly, your father asked me to tell you something. He said he will always love you. Don't keep punishing yourself for others' mistakes. He was actually by your side all along, but you couldn't see him. Mora looked at me frantically. Really? Did he see everything I did? Is he very disappointed in me? I shook my head. No, he's heartbroken that his daughter has become like this. He sent me here because he wants you to stop making mistakes. He wants you to have a good ending. Mora's face was already covered in tears. She opened the iron cage and let me out, then tightly grasped my hand. No, it's too late. I want to see him one last time. Where is he? I couldn't bear to tell her the truth, so I could only say, he's gone. He's gone to where he belongs. Before he left, he already broke your deal with the devil. Your soul will ascend to heaven. Mora could no longer hold back, and covered her face. Kneeling on the ground, she began to sob uncontrollably, her cries filled with grievances. I killed so many people. At night, I kept having nightmares. They would come, covered in blood, to seek revenge on me. My father also looked at me with disappointment, saying I was a vicious woman, saying he didn't have a daughter like me. I truly regret it. Why didn't I see through that man's true colors? My father died because of me, and now he still has to clean up my mess. I knelt down and hugged her tightly. This time, my hands finally didn't pass through her body. Your father always loved you. None of this is your fault. They deserved what they got. Mora's condition slowly recovered. Once she had finally stabilized, it was time for me to continue my journey. After all, I still carried a curse. After this incident, I developed a strong aversion to the words love and marriage, but aversion wouldn't lift the curse. Mora later comforted me, saying I was just unlucky, and there were many beautiful, happy love stories in the world. You absolutely must not become overly suspicious because of me. If you don't choose carefully and you encounter someone of bad character by the time you're an adult, wouldn't you be as miserable as me? I hugged my pathetic self. If that day truly came, I'd rather gouge out my own eyes. Mora walked me out of the forest. As I turned to leave, I suddenly remembered Mora's father's heart. I pulled it from my pocket, looked at it for a few seconds, then turned back and grabbed Mora's hand. "This is also something your father left behind. Keep it as a memento." Mora reached out and took the heart. The moment it touched Mora's palm, she was enveloped in a colorful light. After the light faded, Mora looked different. She had returned to her original appearance. Mora touched her face and smiled. "This is my true self. Thank you." I was happy for her too. A year flew by in my travels. I went to many places, met all sorts of people, and encountered all kinds of things. In the later part of my journey, I completely abandoned my initial goal of finding a husband. The various experiences along the way stripped away my naivety and led to rapid growth. I began to ponder the significant questions of life and destiny. This world assumes women exist by depending on men, just as Mora, after her innocence was taken by a man, was forced to marry him and become his wife. Snow White, abused by her stepmother, could only seek revenge by marrying a prince. Cinderella had to gain the prince's favor to escape her oppressive birth family. Did they truly love these unfamiliar men? Perhaps it was love at first sight. I don't know. The only thing I am sure of is that their path to happiness relied on marrying men. But men's promises and sweet words are very illusory things, often existing one moment and turning to dust the next. They might seem destined to spend their lives together, but one day in the future, they could betray you, hurt you. This possibility could arise at any moment, beyond our control. On some random day, if you don't meet their standards, you will be ruthlessly discarded. Even if you remain unchanged but they grow bored, you will still be abandoned. And sometimes, at the very last moment of abandonment, they will still throw dirt on your name. Without an independent personality, power and authority are almost monopolized by men, while women are stuck in societal frameworks, unable to move. They demand that princesses be beautiful, queens be dignified, wives be industrious, and prostitutes be wanton. They demand that all women be flawless at all times, intelligent, beautiful, gentle, elegant, with fair skin, crimson lips, raven hair, with healthy bodies, clever minds, agile limbs, with noble character, indomitable spirit, and courage in crisis. Yet they also demand gratitude. You cannot age, cannot be vain, cannot be selfish, cannot be timid, cannot fail, cannot be rebellious. But why? Perhaps the root of everything has never been love or marriage, but rather low status, lack of agency, weakness, fragility, and powerlessness. The strong set the rules, and control their own destiny. What should truly frighten us is not love or marriage. If we want to truly protect ourselves, we need strength, power, an independent personality, and the ability to think clearly. The most important thing is to love oneself. I lay on the grass. Tomorrow was my 18th birthday. The stars in the night sky were bright, as if guiding the lost. The moonlight was clear, illuminating everything, as if to rescue those wandering in darkness. I closed my eyes and fell asleep. At midnight, I slowly awoke. I seemed to hear the call of destiny. I rose and walked to a nearby stream. I bent down and looked into the clear water. The stream reflected my image. I smiled, then reached out and ruffled the slowly flowing stream. My reflection was disturbed, dissolving into ripples. Only I could never deceive or betray myself. In this world, no one was more worthy of my love than myself. My happiness would only be in my own hands. Everything would be determined by myself. I returned to the kingdom, wielding a long sword. I cut through the thorny bushes and slayed the fierce beasts. I climbed the tall tower. Everything was effortless. Why was such a simple task impossible for all those so-called warriors? I raised the crown with both hands and slowly placed it on my head. From this day forward, I will be a queen. I will control my own destiny. Alright everyone, the full story is complete. Thank you for your support.